1 year of studio time in review. Studio time, the channel that you just clicked on, by the way, if you're new here. If not, welcome back. We're gonna do a 1 year in review of studio time, and I'm gonna kind of hit a couple categories here. First on the channel itself, then we're gonna touch on some studio workflow and setup from the year, and then we'll do some surprise gear and equipment of the year at the end as a little bonus. I had the idea for this channel technically 2 years ago, or at least the idea of splitting up some of the videos I was making. If you're new here, I started this channel a year ago, but I've been making videos on recording studios and music production and doing studio tours for almost 5 years now. That was happening on another channel called Andrew Masters, which is me, by the way. Now, here on Studio Time, it's been 1 year. 1 year since I created this channel and posted the little channel trailer on here. I'm so grateful that I did, and I didn't know, I figured this would be a small subset of people who would find this channel and really, get value out of the videos, because the idea is essentially everything studio recording, gear, music production related, but going deeper, and that's not a broad audience of folks. I mean, if you're watching this, just think about the number of people in your 24-hour cycle that who get it, who get this thing that we are obsessed with. It's a relatively small number of people. So I figured this would be somewhat of a niche channel, and it's honestly, it's been great. Looking at the numbers, I like to try to analyze how things are going and where I need improvement and what do the numbers say. Amazingly, I was able to post 64 videos this year. I actually can't even believe that. 52 weeks. I kind of can't even believe that. I guess I posted, some of those are shorts, I think. Not a lot, but some of them. So 64 videos it's a lot of work, man. Outside of the making videos that you see here on YouTube, I do a lot of other stuff. I do sessions. I play drums on other people's sessions. I do mixes. I do studio consulting for other people who are setting up their own studios. I am working on a bunch of courses that I'm extremely excited about, products that will be coming out next year. And I'm also married with a kid. So the fact that I was able to squeeze 64 videos out this year I'm proud of that. There's a lot of work, and I had a tricky year this year. If you followed along, you've seen me switch studios a few different times. So that was very complicated and really messed up my routine and workflow and ability to do what I do. It was very, very difficult. Okay, so 64 videos, 1.2 million views. I'm very proud of that. It's not easy to make videos about headphone boxes and remote computer monitor controls for your drum rig and get views. I mean, this stuff is it's just not super interesting to the broader public. So that's pretty cool to have gotten that many views. 22,300 subscribers, probably double what I thought I could get on this channel. So I'm really proud of that. And thank you. Thank you for clicking on any video, watching any of these videos, joining along in this journey. We've really developed a great community of people who are all interested in this stuff. And I can tell you from the consultations that I do, it's a very broad community, literally abroad, outside of the United States, in the United States, all different types of people. And it's super cool. It's super cool that we are all connected around the same thing. For anyone who's curious about the business side of this, I want to share this channel's ad revenue. So if you're not familiar, YouTube channels themselves can generate income, revenue. So when you see that skippable ad on a video, what that means is that channel is in the partner program, which means when that channel gets views, there's revenue that comes from the ads that are on those videos. I didn't know this 5 years ago. 5.5, whatever years ago. I just watched videos and I, skipped the ads when I could. And then I learned about this whole like behind the scenes, like there's a business behind it. And I was fascinated. So if you're interested, I want to share the ad revenue for this channel in its first year with those metrics that I just mentioned. 22,300 subscribers, 1.2 million views. By the way, subscribers do not translate to revenue. Subscribers is almost a completely meaningless metric at this point. In some sense, it's like a measurement or a milestone of just the progress you're at, I guess. I don't really know. The ad revenue for this channel, and for any channel, is based on views and then the category of what advertisers are willing to pay for views. So I'm not going to linger on this too long, but I just want to share it because if you're interested, it'll inspire you to start a channel. The channel brought in just under $6,000 in ad revenue in its first year. So 1.2 million views converted to about $6,000 in ad revenue. I want to contrast that with other platforms. So if you make content, you post it on other platforms, let's say Instagram, for instance, because I have an Instagram and I post reels on there, like the vertical videos, and they get a lot of views. They get way more views than my YouTube channel does. But I don't think I've made $100 in the entire year from my Instagram bonuses or partner or whatever stupid name they have for it. So when it comes to getting compensated for the work that you do, YouTube is still the spot. Very interesting, super cool on that. I want to touch on it and obviously thank each and every one of you for following along on this channel and joining me here. Up next in the review is the studio workflow and setup in review. Now, as I mentioned before, I've switched studio setups 4 times this year, which is just so sickening and depressing. It makes me nauseous to think about. Not intentional, by the way. Moved studios, bought a house. That studio didn't work out. Had to move out into a temporary spot, and then got out of that temporary spot and wound up back, ironically, in the same house my studio was in, but I had like a home studio upstairs. Now, the difference from the beginning of the year to now is I have the entire house is a studio. So we're no longer technically home studio in the sense that I lived here. I don't live here anymore. This is like a full-on studio. Now it's a dedicated space. And the part of the big change for that, outside of, my family not being in this house where I work now and do sessions, is it's a multi-room studio. So I went from having home studio, everything in one room to do everything, to having a multi-room space. So no longer are my drums right behind me while I'm getting sounds. I actually get to get my drum sounds through the speakers. It's kind of amazing. I've been so used to doing everything in one room, and you can do that, and it's perfectly fine. This big change in workflow has been really nice. It's really great. Now, I technically have much more space, but each room individually is smaller than the room that I was in. So it's a weird contrast, when everything was in one room, that was a 19-foot by 19-foot room with some limitations because the ceiling had a slant on it, right? And now I have 1, 2, 3 rooms, control room, 2 tracking rooms, and technically if we needed to put stuff out there or up there, we could also use those rooms. But the 2 tracking rooms have lines and headphones and control of the rig ran to them. So it's like a super flexible studio setup now. It's been really, really great. The dedicated studio element of it is awesome. Bought a house just a few minutes away from the studio. So I'm here 7 days a week. Also have a studio dog who's always here. Hercules, by the way. And it's just been amazing. I'm really looking forward to doing a studio tour of this space. Just been doing some finishing touches, mic locker, etc. But it's pretty much there. We've been doing sessions for 6 months now in here, and it rules. Everything about this place rules. We're going to be doing a lot more sessions next year and booking out this studio, both with me as the engineer, and if you want to come in and engineer, you can do that as well. So very, very excited about that. I'll talk more about that next year in 2 days or whatever. You can go check out my website if you want to see some of the details on the studio. Plus, we'll have a tour on it, so you can get a full experience of the place if you're interested in tracking here. We've got some good stuff. The always on workflow I've mentioned in other videos, essentially just the ability to go up to an instrument, touch it, and hear what that, the instrument immediately with no setup change. It's like that for every single instrument in the house. Drums, guitar, keys, synth, bass, vocals. You literally just grab headphones, put them on, talking to the mic, everyone can hear it. Talkbacks. The system is as if you set up in a commercial studio to do a record and you got everything dialed, headphones, talkbacks, sounds, everything, like the vibe, ready to go, and then it's just always like that. It's so good. It makes making records comfortable, easy, fun, where the focus is on the song that you're doing, not, can I find this thing? Can we rush because we're running out of time? It's just about the song and getting the performance and getting that sound. We've got a lot of cool options here with guitars, amps, drums. There's going to be so much drum stuff coming out next year. I just am so excited about it. Okay, so the always on workflow has been great. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about that, I did a video on exactly how I set this room up and some of the stuff that I used. Go find that. It's on the channel. You can check that out. We'll go in depth on it. If you're setting that up for your room, shameless plug here, and you want to have that same workflow and you want to bounce some questions off me and get a plan together, go schedule a consult at my website. Just go to the consult tab and you can book a call with me and we'll get your studio dialed in. So you can do the same thing there. It's a game changer. All right, next thing with a studio workflow is the sound of the room. So this is a house, right? A house studio. Nashville is just all house studios. It's kind of the strangest thing how many studios are houses here. So these are just bedrooms. Like, this is a bedroom. The tracking rooms are both bedrooms. And I worked with Graham from Music City Acoustics, which is a local company here, to build out some treatment to dial in these rooms. And they sound great. The control room in here sounds really fantastic. Let's see if I can tilt this up. Look at the ceiling here. I've got lights mounted to the ceiling, and it's vaulted, sort of. It's like a double vaulted thing. We've got panels up there. I've got some big clouds above me, and I don't have like big bass traps. I don't have big corner traps, and it's just really minimal stuff. We've got some curtains. We've got some panels, some bigger ones like on the sides and around, huge clouds. The control room sounds incredible. I mean, it sounds so good. It's spacious, easy to work in. It's got a sweet vibe that matches what I like. And my mixes translate. And that's like all that matters. All that matters is that you're able to come in and use the stuff to do the thing you're trying to do without any of it getting in the way or any of it messing up that process. So the sounds of the rooms has been great. The drum room sounds awesome. I'm so happy with it. The drums thing is crazy. We'll talk more about that. And the vibes are great. The vibes, sorry. I think this will be the last year of that word vibe. It's comfortable in here. It is welcoming. It's easy to be in here. And it's hard to get me out of this place. You can ask my wife. We have family coming to town. I want to bring them here. I want to hang out with my kid. We want to be here. It's just such a cool freaking spot. Especially if you play music, even if you don't. Like, watching, this is like the greatest movie theater in here. So the vibes are great. The comfort level, the ease of working. We've got a podcast studio out there. Producer buddy Gabe upstairs. It's awesome. All right, the last review of this year is some surprising gear. And my measure of a piece of gear with how much I like it has a lot to do with, number one, how great it sounds, how easy it is to use. Also, real estate. What I mean by that is like size, okay? So a lot of gear is really big. Here's a big change that I made. I got rid of any EQs that I had that were rack mounted. Now, why would you do that? I actually liked the EQs that I had, but I made a conscious decision for workflow and for space to switch to 500 series EQs. So all of my rack gear goes in flow and goes in order of when, how and when and where it needs to be when I use it, right? So it literally goes in order from outboard rack gear. Mic pre's are over here. I can go over there because once you set your pre, it doesn't need to be in front of you, right? And I can hear it, I can turn my speakers up, I can see my levels, I can see the levels metering on the preamp, and then I can come over to the speakers and I can focus in and listen to it, and then I'm good. I don't need it in front of me anymore, right? Then the rack gear in the desk is all compressors. By eliminating rack EQs, I could fit more compression in. So I have Transient Designer, we've got some Audioscape stuff, the UA 1176, some warm audio stuff, the SSL Bus Plus, and then up top we have 500 boxes. Super easy to reach. They're right in front of me when I go to use them. This is gonna blow your mind. I can touch my EQ and adjust it and hear the adjustment as I'm turning it. Amazing concept. So that's been a big change for gear workflow in the studio. Some surprising gear of the year. The first category is the least sexy category ever. It's essentially a piece of gear you have to get that you hope that you never have to touch or deal with. And that is the audio interface. And I have gone through the gambit of interfaces, tried them, liked a lot of them, but they've all had some version of a limitation on them, which has made the session difficult in some way, made some part of the session difficult or just not possible. And so the interface that I switched to this year was one of my surprising discoveries, which was recommended by my friend Fady. It's the Galaxy 32 audio interface made by Antelope Audio. So it's a 32 A to D, D to A converter. There's no mic pre's, which is, at this point, I don't need any interface mic pre's. But the Galaxy solved so many issues for me. I never have to touch it. It's always on. It's always set to the same setting. Even when I take my computer and I leave, you can still come in here and touch things and turn up volumes and still hear the instruments, the speakers. It's like a hardware baked setting, which is just so freaking cool. I mean, you can hear it in headphones, even if my computer's not here. Pro Tools isn't open, nothing. It rules. I can mix with all my hardware without having to do anything except for choose which one I want to use, and it works, and it's on, and that's it. The headphones, everything. The interface solved so many issues for me. That's also something I talk with people about on the consultations so often, because interfaces can be pretty frustrating with limitations, especially when they charge you $4,000 and you can't do like a super necessary thing with it. So I'm very impressed by that, and I've done several videos. If you're interested in learning more about it, it is several videos like talking about how I use it, how it does what it does, how I do the routing, how I do the headphones, all that stuff. There's videos on it on this channel. Go check them out. The next surprising gear of the year is my Ludwig New Sonic drum kit. Now, I've had this, I think I got it last year, 2023, I think. And this is a 3-piece. It's a 20-inch kick drum, 12-inch tom, 14-inch tom, which aren't the dimensions that I typically think that I want. I like the 22, the 13, the 16. It's sort of like my go-to fat, big, juicy drum sound. This drum kit has like really, really impressed me. And I've got a lot of drums. 3 different kick drums. I don't know, 10 different snares, a lot of cymbals, 2 full kits, technically 3. But that new Sonic, I put it up and I leave the toms there all the time. I'm hoping to get to try a Ludwig Classic Maple 22, 13, 16 next year. It would be nice to try that. And it's been great. I've been using it on everything. It's very flexible, and the tone coming out of those toms is fantastic. The kick just cuts, sits right in the mix, sounds freaking great. You can do a lot of different types of sounds with it. Honorable mention to the 24-inch. I also picked up a 24-inch Classic Maple bass drum, just the bass drum, for the exact opposite. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the 20-inch out and I'll put the 24 in, and it's just the exact opposite sound. It's the big boof, you know, like big, huge sound, which is perfect for, you know, some types of music. And it's nice to be able to just grab it and swap it when you need to. So that Ludwig New Sonic is great. Honorable mention to the 24-inch Classic Maple. What's next? Surprising gear of the year. There's so many microphones I could mention. The one that's sticking in my memory is just, I'll tell you, is the Warm Audio's version of the D19, the WA19. I think it's a 150 or 200 bucks. That thing, I haven't even got to try it on drums yet. I'm really excited to hear it on drums, especially for like a Motown early 60s era drum sound. But on electric guitars and on bass, basically guitar cabinets, that WA19 rips. It sounds so good. I'm actually using it on my guitar cab right now in one of the tracking rooms, and it's like 2.5 feet away from the amp. It sounds so good. So shout out to that. The WA19, if you've been thinking about it, is excellent. I also used it to reamp bass on this cover that I'm gonna release. Really excited about that. And it was awesome. I also used it on the Tyler Bryant thing through the Supro. The Supro amp rips too. TB signature model. So yeah, it's been a good year for gear. Workflow, everything's really coming together. Some hopes for next year, some goals that I have are really business-focused goals. And if you work in the music industry, this is something you've got to do. Because if you're not running your business and you're not thinking about it, you're going to have a tough time. I was talking with a friend. I know that we get into this business so that we don't have to sort of deal with the business side of things. But so often, that's why it's so hard. It's so difficult to be a freelance engineer because we just want to engineer. But you got to run a business. You got to have your business stuff in order. So I have some business goals. I've got a great team that we're building here, and I'd like for this studio to be booked out a lot. I want to make a bunch of new records. I want to release some music myself. I'm really excited about that. I've spent way too much time on, I did this cover, and essentially every time I work on it, it's possible that me working on it is a little bit of me procrastinating other work, you know, which I think is sort of all of us when you work on music. But I want to release more music, and I'm just trying to figure out the right way that I want to do that. I don't necessarily know if I want to put it out under Andrew Masters or if I want to come up with some sort of, you know, pretend band name. Thinking like the Pretengineers. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. So yeah, release some music, work on some business stuff, get the studio booked out. I want to help my assistant Stavros accomplish some of his goals. He really likes mixing, wants to do more mixing. The biggest one is I'm going to be launching some courses off the record. Don't tell anyone, this is not like public yet. But I'm working on a lot of courses right now. And, or I have a plan for a bunch of courses, and I'm working on the first one. And I'm putting a lot of energy into it and a lot of love into it because it's about something that's very important to me, which is recording drums and getting epic drum sounds. So keep an eye out for that. And that I'm very excited about that. About just having some cool products, some cool courses that can help other people connect the dots, have some light bulb moments, get better at what they're trying to get better at. make it attainable, you know, instead of like a $30,000 tuition, you know, you can bite it off for way less. So yeah, that's sort of, and then more family time. Ideally, as things start to come together, my business starts to get a little bit more efficient. I can spend more time with my wife and my kid. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you showing up here, watching. I'm grateful that I can add any value, hopefully, to your day. Let me know what goals you have in the new year. Anything you're working on, you want to get better at. Let me know down in the comments. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you to, dude, thank you to Sweetwater. Sweetwater, obviously the best place to get your gear. They have been the biggest supporters of my business, my work, and they let me do what I want to do. So I can make these videos for you, and I can talk about the stuff that I want to talk about, that I think is interesting, and they let me do my thing. So go down in the description, check out the links. If you have any questions about any of this equipment, you can get basically all of it at sweetwater.com. Go check out some gear. If you have any questions about any of that stuff, again, you can schedule a consult with me. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you in the new year. See ya.